All right, welcome to the Prospect Podcast. I'm Coach Schuman. As always, we're here diving into the latest and greatest things going on in the world of sports, especially football. I have Coach Dion with me as always, and we have a great guest today on, especially good timing as everybody's running through their 7-on-7 seasons as that's all going on, and the NFL Combine and all those things going on. So we have a great guest on, Baylin Trujillo, to talk more about that. So it's going to be a great kind of opportunity to talk about quarterback play, to talk about stuff that he's doing with his own children.
Oh, Coach, sure, did we lose you?
Yeah, here we go. It just went completely mute. So
Yeah. Sometimes we go in and out. Sometimes Coach Sue goes in and out. But look, Coach, we're extremely excited to have you on. I know we gave you a little brief of a little bit of an intro, but just kind of tell your journey, give your bio, kind of how you got to where you are today.
yeah, man, I've just been truly blessed, man. God's really connected me with so many people across America to really build this brand that I've built since 2015. Started my quarterback training business in January 2015, is immediately right after I graduated college in December of 2014 at Webber International University with a sport business management degree. Before Webber, I played at the University of South Florida. Got recruited out of high school, went to Boone High School and graduated. I transferred to Oak Ridge High School my senior year and graduated in 2010. My head coach was Elijah Williams, who's now the head coach at Jones High School, which is a powerhouse here in the state of Florida. He changed my life. He played running back and corner at the University of Florida, playing the NFL for a while, was under Steve Spurrier. So I learned a lot of collegiate terminology my senior year, which really helped me. He ran the spread offense. So I had a really good senior year, was recruited by several different universities, ended up verbally committing to Charleston Southern, and then ended up flipping to the University of South Florida after signing day. Peter Voss was the quarterback coach at South Florida. He called me on a random day. It was crazy, but it all worked out. Went there and played there under Skip Holtz. But after checking off the box of playing Division I football, my passion for the game was much greater than the university I was either representing or the big stadiums I was running out of. So decided to transfer to a small school, Webber International, which is a little closer to my home in Orlando. It's a small NAI school. Started immediately when I got there. Had a great career. Went through a little bit of adversity. Tore my ACL in the last play of my retro sophomore spring game. Kind of set me back a little bit, but ended up finishing my senior year as a conference champion, which is the first time that school's ever won a conference championship. Got to throw at a Florida State Pro Day. I was the only quarterback to throw in 2018. They invited me out there, which is really cool. A couple years after I was done playing college. But got to do that in front of all 32 NFL scouts. And then through that process, was able to get picked up by a couple arena teams. And I finished my professional playing career in 2019 with the Orlando Predators, which is a professional arena team here in my hometown team. So that was a really cool experience. So I got to play 3.5 years professionally in the arena game. A lot different than the outdoor game. It really makes you appreciate the outdoor game. That wall is undefeated. A lot of people, it's a lot of scoring and stuff, but for us players, it is a lot more dangerous as we're now playing on concrete. So it is crazy, but it's a cool experience, something I got to check off the box. But anyways, going back to my quarterback training business, again, started that in 2015 of January. Started coaching the Elite 11 for 6 years, was able to do a lot of the regional stuff here in Orlando and Miami, which through that process was able to build a pretty good network of, other quarterback trainers and former NFL quarterbacks across America. And I started my own camp business called Beatrice Advanced QB Camp through that process and was inviting those guys to come to Orlando, put on big quarterback clinics, as well as me traveling to other places like North Carolina, Texas, and other places like that to put on my quarterback camps with those relationships. So it's been awesome. Been able to meet guys like Quincy Carter, Kurt Warner, Greg Olson, Kevin Olson, Jeff Blake. There's so many other, great people that have played, and again, just been blessed to be in this position. But It's really taken off the last about 8 or 9 years. The first 2 years, obviously, building a brand and just trying to build a name for myself. But then through the Elite 11 camps and networking, I've been able to really reach quarterbacks all across America, and it's been great. I've had people fly in from Mexico, Canada, Hawaii, even Europe. So it's been crazy that this my business has reached out, but the thing that really separates myself, I think, with a lot of these trainers, I've really mastered social media and really marketing my brand and being able to be on different platforms and doing podcasts like yourself and just getting my name out there, not really, limiting myself to opportunities, whatever that looks like. And then being able to reach people from all across America, and then reaching out through social media content and watching my mom, man, she is currently, the vice president of several different companies, but she's worked with HSN, was the vice president of HSN, was also the vice president of Disney, also the Orlando Magic. And so watching her, market herself and the brands and some of the stuff that she was able to do, I was able to use that towards my quarterback training business and learn algorithms, creating website, stuff like that. And it's just been amazing, man. Just really, again, marketing the brand and getting it out there to where now I'm positioning myself to where I'm really connecting with multiple people across America in this space, as well as, partnering myself with other quarterback trainers. I started a Bible study about a year and a half ago that really, took off pretty fast. And then through that, partner with another quarterback trainer, Evan Orth, in the Jacksonville area. And he has a brand called Quarterbacks for Christ. And now we do a quarterback Bible study every Monday night now, which has been great. We started this past month. And so it's really, again, reaching out to quarterbacks all across America that we can't really reach out to in our normal areas, but now having the ability to reach out to them through Zoom and Google Meets and stuff like that. And really, again, expanding the brand that way, but also really focusing on the mission and building the brand of being a quarterback trainer that's more geared towards the Christian faith. And so that's what I'm a big believer in. I believe God has me here for a purpose. And also, again, using my platform to not only change lives on the field, but off the field as well.
No doubt. You've had a lot of places that you played at, which is interesting. So you work with a lot of different kind of coaches over the years. Talk little bit about that and dive into the different coaches you worked with and some of the things that you thought were influential in improving you as a quarterback coach now, and maybe even as improving you as a player.
Yeah, again, it's really cool to have guys that come to my camps, that fly in and really work my camps, and being able to, call Kurt Warner at 10:30 at night when we're on two different time zones, or Quincy Carter, coming to my house and spending a whole weekend with me, and we're going over just how the game has evolved. And Steven Garcia, who I really started my camp business with back in 2017, getting and picking the brains off multiple people, and then working with guys like Quincy Avery and Elite 11 and Sean McVoy, and even just recently, trying to connect with guys like Will Hewlett and being around Denny Thompson, like guys that are in my area, and just kind of watching what they do. Even QB Movement, which I believe is in Canada, they do a really good job learning just stuff that they're doing. I think it's really cool, man. Just again, connecting and networking and trying to build your own content, as well as trying to bounce ideas off these guys and trying to mold the new way of quarterback play is, just how it's different than when I was playing back in the day, when the stereotype is more 6'4" robotic. Now it's, you're more mobile guys that could be 6 foot, 6'1". That's more, towards the game now. And so just trying to evolve the position and doing stuff off and on platforms and making sure staying current and trying to relate to these kids. That way they can add stuff to their toolbox. But yeah, man, just learning from guys that have done it at the highest level. Even, Charlie Ward was on some of my stuff and stuff like that, learning from him, too, as well. And again, Jeff Blake, who's now at IMG, and it's just been cool, man. And again, most of the stuff that I really learned was through working the Elite 11 regionals and learning from guys, because they would bring in some of the top quarterback trainers and we'd all work together and do stations together and feed off ideas. So that was really cool to be around that. I'm still around. I don't really work the regional stuff anymore. I have too many guys that they invite. It would be too political
Right.
if I was to work some of those camps.
Yeah. Conflict of interest, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I want my kids to earn it. I don't want to. He's the quarterback coach here in this region.
He's their guy.
The MVP. But at the end of the day, I'm still around it whenever they come to Orlando or Tampa or Miami. I still try to get involved. And Brian Stump's an amazing guy, and he lets me still be around and stuff. So it's really cool. But But yeah, I just think that, it's just, again, a little conflict of interest why I have kind of stopped the Elite 11 stuff. But I love what they do. And, eventually, hopefully one day I'll get back into it.
Very interesting. Quarterback play, you brought it up, so I want to go through some of that. And by the way, we both played for Skip Holtz, so
there we go. Hey,
I played I played at UConn for him.
Oh,
so,
nice. That's
yes.
awesome.
He hated me as a fullback, even though I was a starting fullback when he came in there, and
Good old Skip.
Moved me over to linebacker where I started. So it was great. It was fun. It was good.
The worst part about Skip is he'd bring his dad in and he would give us a dang lecture.
Oh,
he literally compared us to Alabama one spring practice. I'm just like, okay, like Alabama's number one in the country. We're just still trying to build a brand over here at USF. But no, I mean, the standard definitely was high. And what I loved about Skip was he's definitely a player's coach.
I was there. He brought his dad up there a couple of times when we were there. Yeah. Good. I'm sorry. Good.
No, it's just funny how, like, he compares us to the best teams in America, no matter where Skip's playing or coaching at. But he eventually did some pretty big things in the next level after he left USF. That's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. What was I going to say? So you talked about the different the evolution of the quarterback position, and there's so much stuff that's being thrown around from a quarterback position standpoint, like the way guys train quarterbacks and different methodologies, and trying to mimic some of the NFL quarterbacks and their throwing motions. Is there an approach that you have that you think is important when you're working with your quarterbacks to try to figure out, or is there one way do you do things, or is there a way that you approach it where you look at what they do, what their body type is like, and then you try to approach the training from that standpoint? Because there's so many things out there that like guys hang their hats on, and what is your thoughts from that standpoint?
Yeah, I'm more of a footwork specialist. I don't really get too much into the mechanical stuff. I'm a big believer in good feet equals good ball. I've definitely believed in that. I've seen the process work through my training over the last 11 years, and seeing kids throw from different arm angles and still be able to throw the ball efficiently and effectively and on time. I think that's really where I focus on. Another thing that I really care about is the terminology in the position. I never dummy down the position. I don't care if you're 6 years old and to a pro athlete, I will always call it the same. It is what it is, and I'll always treat it the same. This position is the hardest position in all of sports, and when I see coaches try to dummy it down because of maybe skill, talent, or age, it's almost a joke. And that's the way I look at it. I don't think I would ever want to do it to that extent, especially in my coaching career. And some people, it may rub the wrong way, but at the end of the day, like if you're going to learn this position, you might as well learn at the top, and then you obviously evolve into that. I am also a firm believer that you have to be a natural thrower of the football. A lot of people, it just looks really weird them trying to throw a football, and no matter how much you work on footwork, it's just not it. I believe you're born a quarterback. I do believe that throwing a football is a skill. You could try to teach as much as you can mechanically, but it has to feel natural to a player. It has to. It's just like picking up a baseball or shooting a basketball. You can just kind of see, just the coordination and the ability to do that naturally. I think that's something that's a gift. And so my goal is to really, again, hone in on the footwork and let everything else the body kind of flow in sync with the lower body. And I really focus more on the fundamental work of the position. I'm not going away from that. I do believe you have to understand what a 3-step drop, 5-step drop, 7-step, 7 with a hitch, 5 with a hitch, 3 hitch from gun, 3 no hitch under center. I work from under center a lot too. A lot of the new age quarterback trainers, they don't do that. They're all gun. And then these quarterbacks feel uncomfortable at the next level. And that's why they fall on the depth chart. They might be the highest ranked quarterback coming out of high school, but yet they're no names in the next 3 years, and people forget about them because they can't adjust to being an old, pro style quarterback. It's all they know is RPO and air raid, which is amazing, right? That's really where the game's at. But you also have to have that other stuff in your toolbox. And so I kind of do it reverse. I go straight fundamental work, from drops all the way to off-platform stuff. So the off-platform stuff is once you've kind of perfected, we're never going to perfect something, but once you get comfortable with the more fundamental, easy stuff that used to be really harped on in the old days, then you add into the toolbox where now you're throwing off-platform, you're throwing from different arm angles, you're trying to position your body and getting leveled from different slots in the pocket, outside the pocket, lining your body, backpedaling, throwing, throwing cross body, stuff that again was not natural back when I was playing. Back when I was getting recruited, there was stuff that I was doing on my tapes where I was throwing across my body late around across the middle, and they're pulling my film up on the board in college, like, hey, if you ever do this, you're never playing here. Now that's the throw that's getting my guys getting the Ohio State Miami offers, right?
Right.
So that's what they want to see now. Are you able to make those throws against where it's not really easy or what people might not like? And so again, that's really where I focus on my training. But yeah, man, I don't dummy down this position. I don't care what you are and where you are status wise or age wise, you will get the same terminology. And on top of that, I really focus on the footwork development, and I'm all big on that because at the end of the day, I am a believer in good feet equals good ball. Now, if I see something drastic with your arm angles and how it's getting, the release points is a little bit away from your body, kind of more of a slashing movement, I will have drills that really help that, on the off time when they're not with me. To work at home, and hopefully, obviously, it kind of gets better with your mechanics as you develop. But again, I'm not going to waste time on arm slot angles and stuff like that when I'm really going to focus on your footwork development. Because again, if you're on time and your body's in sync, chances are your throw's going to have to come with your lower body, and then therefore there's going to be minor mechanical issues.
Absolutely. I think there's a couple things there that are interesting. So first off, where you're starting within the pocket first. That's one of the things that me and Derek have talked about extensively with guys we talked about, where they immediately get them moving before they start to teach them some of the stuff in the pocket, right? And once they start to learn some of the stuff in the pocket, obviously then, especially when they're younger, you're going to have to roll and stuff, depending on what their age is. But getting them started in the pocket, I think, is a big, big, important part because so talk a little bit about that, because I think that when you go on Instagram and you see like young quarterbacks, right? And you have sons, so you probably see it all the time, right? And they're immediately going into all kinds of movement stuff, and they really can't still drop properly, right? They have a hard time dropping properly, and they're so concerned about the movement-based part about it. Talk about why that's important, in your opinion, that they start there before they move out.
You have to learn the basics and the fundamentals. It's almost like building a foundation on a house. If you don't have the foundation, the house is going to eventually crumble. So you have to build that solid foundation, which is, again, the old school stuff, the 3-step, 5-step, 7-step drop, under center specifically, learning that way you're eliminating the hitches, eliminating, body position, because again, a lot of people hitch from under center because all the weight's going back in their drop. Now they're trying to go forward and being base. When you're learning your body and how you can control your base with full body control, that way you're not hitching on a drop step that you don't need to. It's going to really help your game evolve. Also, timing. Everything is about timing. And so learning the drops, timing is in the route sequencing has to do with your drop steps. If you don't have, clean drops, you're probably going to be late on your throws. You're probably not going to understand and where you're going with the football, and your body's not going to be aligned to obviously what you're reading. And so everything starts with the drop step, then you expand into the platforms throws. And also, what I love to talk to my quarterbacks, and I think there's two categories, right? You have pocket passers and dual threats. Well, I've kind of categorized my guys as athletic pocket passers. So I don't care if you're a pocket passer or a dual threat, you are going to be athletic pocket passers, which means you're going to play the game within the pocket. And if you have to extend plays, you're able to do so, whether you are a 6 foot, 220-pound quarterback, or 6'4", 220, or you're 6'1", 185 and are more athletic gifted with running the ball. And so I like to categorize all my guys as athletic pocket passers. So I do train some dual threats, obviously some pocket passers, but they all can do the same things. Why? Because we train within the pocket, and then they're able to extend plays. I want my quarterbacks to be quarterbacks first, run second. I want to throw the ball. I'm not looking to run the ball off if I feel any type of pressure. Also, when you think about a hurricane, where's the calmest part of a hurricane? In the eye of the storm. Where's the eye of the storm? Right. The pocket. So if quarterbacks can understand in their mind and be confident that, hey, I'm most safe when I'm actually standing in the line of fire. That is where you're most comfortable. And if I train my guys to be the most comfortable there, they're going to probably have the most success because now they're not looking to fleet or try to throw things on the run. Again, a lot of the people think that they're most impressed with how they can throw on the run. That is a skill set that's very hard to train, but also it's very easy, right? Because you can develop bad habits by always being on the run. Why? Because when you're running in space, your concepts and your progression reads are out the door. What do these guys do? If they're short, they go deep. If they're deep, they come back to the ball. It's easier throws. You're able to have a higher completion percentage by throwing on the run. That is not football. That's just sandlot. So if you're able to show that you can play within the pocket, because we know at the next level, when you go to college, no matter what the division, or you go to the pros, you're going to have to learn to play within that line of fire in the pocket, because that's where the game's going to be played. High school, you can get away with it, right? If you're the most athletically gifted player, which is 99.9% your quarterback in youth league and in high school, shoot, every play you can roll out and throw on the run. But if you're able to stand within the pocket now, actually develop from there and go through your progression reads, that's what's going to get these kids recruited, and that's what's going to make you be more advanced and ultimately go out and live your dream, which is the NFL.
I think it's a great point about staying in the pocket and whatnot. Just in today's game too, where we see NIL and transfer portal, right? Like such a big deal. Health becomes a huge concern. I also feel like a guy that stays in the pocket, right? And now your offensive line understands this is our world. We have a guy that we trust and we know he's only going to break when he has to. Just adds, I think, a level of continuity and team, right? That's really somewhat almost rare now. Like it kind of gets that group thinking a little different, right? And it also allows your wideouts and those guys that are catching the ball to have a different mentality, knowing, hey, this guy is only going to take off and run if it's the last case scenario, where now we can actually get through our progression and we can understand that, hey, if it's not just the first read, he's going to get to the second read. It just gets more guys believing in the concept of what an offense really should be. I don't even know if you look at it like that, but to me, like in this world of trying to get everybody involved, you know, on a play-to-play basis, I just think adds more to it. It's a way to keep guys in your locker room, at the way I look at it, right? Because if everybody's bought in and knowing like they're all on the same page and it's not just this guy out here doing, you know, his own kind of thing and whatnot, which is what a lot of that looks like, right? When he breaks pocket and he's just kind of going and making plays and whatever. And then all of that work all week, you know, the routes on air, the 7-on-7, like all that stuff that we put into it, right? Your pass pro, your blitz periods, like where everybody's involved. And now all of a sudden you get to a game and it's out the window because the first time that somebody comes free, he just tucks it and he's out and going. I just think it adds a level of teamwork to it that I think is huge.
And Massey, yeah, you hit every point. Dang right.
Yeah, and it's what's interesting is the dilemma that I guess at the high school level a lot of coaches get into is that they don't have that guy. So, and if they don't have that guy and they don't know how to develop that person,
that's too the development aspect.
That's where you get a lot of the issues. I mean, I would argue probably most high schools across the country, they probably don't have a coach that they might be a good head coach, you know what I mean? But they don't have a coach that's developing quarterbacks in a lot of instances. And I think that's where you get into a lot of that stuff that deviates from it.
Which is where we go out, where we've recently talked about this a ton, where, you know, you have your coaching staff, right? And now you have trainers.
Yeah.
And for the most part, they're on opposite sides of the fence. Yet we're all just trying to get kids better. But it becomes this clash of, oh, well, I'm telling you this, or I'm telling you that, or hey, my trainer says this, and now I'm trying to teach this.
So
we really bring it up. Go ahead, because I want to.
I love that you're bringing that up. Yeah, I love that you're. Hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's something that's coming to the forefront a lot recently, right? Because we see the social media trainer that just wants you to pay for 10 sessions at one, you know, to make some money.
Yeah.
But then you have guys that actually, and look, I pride ourselves on kind of doing this, is that, you know, we communicate with coaches. What does he need to work on? What offense do you run? Like we want these guys to go back and hit the ground humming, not go back and say, hey, my trainer says to do it this way.
Right.
Why are we doing it like this? No, well, you do it that way. We're adding tools to your toolbox to get you better. We're just like a piece of your puzzle. You know what I mean? So I'd love for you to touch on that, especially in your world. You know, that's, you know, you're in the limelight.
Yeah, I have about 5 more minutes, but
no, you're good.
Yeah, so that's a great point. So it's funny because when I first started my quarterback training business in 2015, I got into high school coaching here at my alma mater, Oak Ridge High School, where I'm currently a PE teacher at. And so when I was training, when I first started this business, I was training pretty much everyone starting quarterback. And so a lot of these high school coaches were complaining that I was recruiting, that I was, telling them different things so they would kind of mess up where they're at. But at the end of the day, I want all the kids that I train to be successful. I know and realize that not everybody can play for me, right? So that just didn't make sense. But at the end of the day, like after doing about 3 years, I ended up quitting coaching and focus solely on my quarterback training business. And those same coaches that were complaining are now the same ones to this day, still blowing up my phones for transfer quarterbacks, trying to figure out how they can. No, it's a real thing. I've been more part of like literally I literally almost it almost feels like I coach for every team in Orlando. Like I've had access to every football facility here in Orlando that I can go train for free because they want all their top quarterbacks or all the top quarterbacks on their facilities, right? It's a smart recruiting tool. And then on top of that, they want a quarterback every single year because, like you just alluded to, it's the hardest position to really replace every year. And so now that you have a trainer that's working on these things, these guys know, hey, who's the first person to call? It's probably me. So if there's a quarterback movement that's happening in Orlando, I'm probably the middleman behind it. But again, that let all the coaches speculate what they want. But I'm
Right.
telling them I am the guy behind it. I'm going to make sure all my guys win, especially the guys that I train. I'm going to place them where I see fit. But it's crazy that guys, I'm not even joking. I don't even work on staffs, and there's been multiple state championships that's been won in Orlando, where Cocoa High School, now Lake Mary, Jones has been to several, state championships. They've given me rings. I've literally got rings of players that I train because they know we're working together in one. So a lot of these coaches are now asking me for advice in what they should be doing in indie periods. I even sometimes go to some of these high schools during the week and do indie periods where now I don't feel like I'm conformed to just one school. I work everywhere. And I think that's really an advantage that the city of Orlando has taken an advantage of, where it could have been more of an ego thing. Like, I'm not going to listen to this guy because he's a trainer, like you said, has all these stereotypes of maybe just wants our money or these taking advantage of these players or whatever. But now they've really bought into where like they start to see the process and how I've developed these players to where now I feel like I work for every single high school coach because now they're the ones calling me and saying, hey, like, I need a quarterback, and this is like what I'm looking for. And so it's pretty funny how I've been involved in a lot of these programs, which is great for me because again, it's just more access to everybody and learning and growing and developing together and still building this quarterback platform and this business. But at the same time, now I feel like I'm able to really be involved with these high schools to where I'm even collecting state championship rings, which there's going to be a ring ceremony in the next 2 weeks because Noah Grubbs just won a state title at Lake Mary, who I've been developing since he was in 7th grade. So like it's pretty cool how that's also worked. But I think that the smartest coaches would be the ones that are now partnering and trying to work aligned with these trainers locally than trying to cause a divide and restrict these quarterbacks. Because let's be honest, a lot of these quarterback coaches in high schools don't even know the position themselves. They're just trying to put something on their resume and they've never even played the position. They just want to be a coordinator. And so they just have the quarterback coach title. But if they just get together with these trainers that have expertise or have obviously experience in playing and developing in this position, I think the smartest thing high school coaches can do is partner with these guys like myself and work together on these things. And then that way you start to see the successful quarterback play and ultimately getting these guys recruited. Because let's be honest, these high school coaches are worried about 110 kids on a roster, not just one. And so guys like myself, I focus on my quarterback. So my job is to market them in social media and promote them and blast them and do everything I can that when you log into Twitter or Instagram, my quarterback is the first person you see, and so I've really mastered that in my opinion. And so I think that's why my guys are on big platforms, because I've literally showered the social media content with guys that I train, marketing, putting out offers, setting private workouts with these coaches. Like it's out there. And so these high school coaches love that because now there's no more pressure on them trying to help recruit the quarterback. These
Right.
coaches are coming to me. And so
Right.
I'm
Well,
able
if
to
you think
market
about
all
it,
the guys.
Right. And it also takes another thing off of their head coaching plate, knowing, hey,
Correct.
this guy's going to do what he needs to be done. It's going to make mom and dad happy. It's going to make the player happy because, look, they're getting that individualized type of attention that now as a head coach, like you said, I'm worried about 110 other guys. Hey, I know my quarterbacks are safe because, you know, they work with Coach Tay or whatnot. And I think that's something that's huge. We've discussed it a ton, especially with the rise of the social media trainer, right? The guy that they just go to because he's got a million likes or clicks and whatnot. I also think that the area that you work in is a hotbed, right? So it helps a ton that you can go to any facility outside and go. Coach, you know, look, I know you got to go, you know, because you're in the middle of a class schedule and whatnot, but we appreciate you taking a little bit of time to hop on and have some conversations with us about it. We'd love to get you on again to kind of go about some other things and have some questions that I know Coach Shu probably wanted to pick your brain about, but we understand the schedule and whatnot. But we appreciate you taking the time, man.
Also, quick thing for trainers, parents, anybody listening, guys, nothing in this life is free. You're going to have to pay for it. So a lot of these people complain about, oh, this trainer costs this much or whatnot. Guys, if you want something out of what you're getting in your training, you're going to have to pay for it. You know, our time is valuable. I have a family at home. You know, I've never had really that issue with payments, but I do know that is a topic, especially with trainers. At the end of the day, do your research, parents. Do your research, kids. Don't just go with anybody just because of this or that or what. Go check out for yourselves, but you have to not be foolish. You get what you put in. So if you're out there thinking that everything in life is free and this is going to be handed to you, ain't going to happen. Invest in your kids. Invest in a coach. Invest in a trainer that's willing to put their work and their time and their efforts into your kids. Because at the end of the day, I have a family at home that I have to take care of. And like you mentioned, I have 2 boys. My 3-year-old, I'm hard on him. He's already throwing better than a lot of the kids that I train at 5, 6, 7 years old. Why? Because I'm hard on him. I'm staying on him. Find a coach that's doing the exact same thing, not just your trainer, but also your mentor, someone that you trust with your kids, a recruiter that's going to help promote your kids, and also someone that's going to be something to look up to, like a figure that's going to do the right thing, right? A Christian man. Do your research about these guys, because a lot of these coaches out there are trying to take your money. So it's very important that you understand who you're working with, but you have to invest in order to get where you want to go. And that's something I want to leave for all the parents and the athletes that are listening.
All right, Coach. Have a great day.
And God bless you guys. I love what you're doing. Thank you for having me on. I can't wait to do it again.
Thanks, buddy.
Right. Let me see. Let me fix this here. Okay, there we are. Good. Thoughts?
I thought it was awesome. I thought he was spot on with how he came about it and all of his, you know, his views on things. I think, especially for the area that he's in down in Orlando, where we know Florida kind of is, you know what I mean? Like, it's tough. You know what I'm saying? Like, so he's got to fight for it. I get it. I just think it's, and I get it. And I love, I don't know. I just think it's that, look, there's a reason he's on one of these top 25 lists as trainers, because you can see how passionate he is about the position itself, how charismatic he is. And look, I'm sure there's a lot of guys, for every guy that likes him, I'm sure there's 5 that don't, you know what I mean? Because he's brass and because he comes across like that. He trains the position and believes in certain things that he, you know, is going to stand on those and move forward. You know, if nothing else, I give him kudos for that, right? Like, hey, here's what I think about the position. Here's how I'm going to coach it. Here's the expectation. Here's the standard. And it is what it is. Like, here's how much it costs. And if you don't want to pay it, go somewhere else. Because like you said, there's a million other guys out there that are willing to take your kid or whatever. But, you know, if he comes to me, we're going to stand on this
position. Exactly.
Absolutely. It might be one of the most flooded trading markets, if not the highest rated, you know what I mean? Where it's almost like if you don't have a QB trainer, right? Like, are you the outlier? That's how I feel about it.
The outlier, just because you're, I think being around other QBs probably is helpful too. But
right,
you know, when you're at it, I'll give my 2 cents on what I think in the long run for quarterbacks. So obviously in the long run, they're going to need quarterback help if they're going to play at a higher level. Unless they have someone that could help them that they know that is, you know, happens to be really good, or their father that happens to know, you know, what they're doing. But like for the most part, you probably will eventually need that. I think one of the interesting things is, and I think we didn't get a chance to really dive into it, but because I really wanted to talk to him about the multitude of trainers, and I was trying to get to it, but it was hard in a short time frame. I wanted to get to like,
Yeah, I wish I knew he was at school.
Beyond the footwork, beyond like what is that good quarterback coaches are teaching, and what are guys that are not good quarterbacks teaching, right? Like what makes this guy over here good, and what makes this guy over here not as good. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because they all teach something a little bit different. This is what's confusing for a lot of parents of quarterback, because that's initially that's where it starts out, right? You bring, and I just know from my own experience, and listen, Florida's totally different. There's 5,000, you can get one on any corner, so it's totally different than here, right? Like where it's much more difficult to find guys, and the guys that are quarterback coaches probably are pretty busy, right? So if you deciphering through it all is really, really interesting, because I find that like they're all pretty good, the guys that I've been around. It's not like anybody's been bad. I don't know if that makes sense.
Well, I think because by definition they want to help, right?
Yeah.
Like they're all out there trying to help in some way, shape, or form.
You have to do a good job,
Correct.
Otherwise but
right. You won't have one. You know what I mean?
I think
if you don't do a good job, it is what it is. So I think they're trying. I just think I don't want to say it's
the difference is like, so I think the difference in successful ones versus ones. So I think it's important with quarterback coaches, just having done this for so long and seen so many quarterback coaches. And even though I probably do as good as a job as anybody, maybe better than most with my social media over the years, it's enabled me also to watch a lot of how quarterback coaches in general position themselves. And it's very interesting to see how they position themselves. They all position themselves slightly differently. And when they position themselves on social media, they all have a different emphasis, which brings me to my point, is that deciphering between them is different, right? So this guy over here might be focused on footwork, right? So for example, Baylin, that he said that's his big thing, right? And then,
which I like that, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's starting from
because especially at the younger ages, right? And like you said, the less skilled throwers, if you have great footwork, right, or above average footwork, you can get away with it, right? Maybe you can get away with it is the wrong way to put it, right? But you can have more success when your footwork is right. You don't have to have a cannon for an arm. You know what I mean? Like when your footwork is on point. So and the fact that, look, he said he could be back on in 5 minutes, so you can ask him your question because he's got some extra time. Yeah.
Oh, awesome. We got him back. All right,
yeah. So, awesome. But I think that's important. You know what I mean? I think that's one of those things.
Oh, coach. Hey, great. You got a couple of minutes with you? What's up?
Yeah, man. It was an easy transition. So these kids are just in the gym. So I was able to step away a little bit. I know that I was watching your stream still when I left, and I noticed you had a couple more questions. So I'd love to answer some of those.
Yeah. So I was just saying, like, so I have a son that's a quarterback. So, and he's 10 years old. One of the things that I know is, at least where I am, and I ran, NUC showcases for 15 years, 20,000 kids a year, every quarterback coach in the planet, you name it. And worked with a lot too as well at our camps. So
yeah, I was gonna say a couple high name guys, that have kind of
like
gone
Jeff
through and whatnot.
I mean, almost every guy has worked in the old days that worked through through my camps at some point or another. But one of the interesting things is every quarterback is a different emphasis. So like you talked about footwork and you talked about playing in the pocket. Another guy might have, I don't know, XYZ as an emphasis. Another guy might have this as an emphasis. I was saying for parents, it can be very difficult, right? So we talked about coaches, but for parents, it can be really difficult. Like, I bring my kid, let's say, to you, right? And you work with him. He has a great experience. And then let's say some other guy says, oh, come over here, and you go over there, right? And he has a good I would say most of the guys, at least where we are, they all do I think, at least a pretty good job, right? I'm not saying one guy's the greatest, but they all do a pretty good job at what they do, but they're all slightly different, right? So what do you think, and that is really important for parents to understand when going to a quarterback coach? Because I think that's a really, because one of the things that myself and other quarterback parents that I know, and all this 7-on-7 club we run, dealing with their parents, they always have that question, right? That's always a big question for them, like this versus that. Yeah. How do you help them to decipher what might be best for their child as far as a quarterback coach to go with, or the type of individual they should go with?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, how I ended the last time I was on here, doing the research, right? Seeing what they've done in their niche, or what have they done in their profession to really help develop or market or get kids to, play at high levels. I think one of the coolest things that I take pride in is a lot of the younger kids I train, especially your, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11-year-olds that are playing youth football, how they've dominated at the quarterback position, right? How they've literally separated themselves in camp settings, on the field, right? Because I've perfected the little things that a lot of coaches don't have time to do, which means they're going to start separating themselves. So you have to start seeing how these kids are really producing and developing, and as if it's really translating to how they're playing when it really matters. Because everybody looks good in camp t-shirts and shorts, but are they really using what they're doing and applying it to the game? That's where you start to really see the true development. How are they performing and making the game easy? See, I take pride in my training should be harder than the game. The game should be easy. I'm all about being a reactive player, not a thinking player, right? A lot of these coaches that I've been around, and when I go to camps, what is their number one phrase? Muscle memory, muscle memory, muscle memory. I am the biggest advocate that muscle memory does not exist. It's not a thing. Your muscles don't think. You want to become a reactive player. You want to become of who you are, instinctual. I've trained so much that my body is instinctively thinking on the fly. It's not having to over-process in your mind, should I or should I not? No, I see it, I throw it, I believe I've worked on it, I see the timing of it, I'm throwing it, right? So I want you to become more of a reactive player, not a thinking player. So that's how I train, or really what I really focus on when it comes to footwork development and timing and sequencing and all that stuff, is I want you to be reactive. You see it, you throw it. You see it, you throw it. You don't have to think about it. It's not muscle memory. It's who you are as a quarterback, because that's what you developed to be. But going back to your point, I know I can't train all the time. I train 3 to 4 times a week. So there's multiple quarterback trainers here in Orlando that do a really good job, right? And so we all focus, like you said, on different things. I'm a footwork guy. There's a guy here named Michael Slack, does a really good job mechanically. There's a guy here named Rod Weatherford that does a really good job of a little bit of mixture of both. So there's multiple guys in our area that focus on different things, and we all bring a different personality, a different whatever the case may be. But again, I think that the results of the work is what's really going to determine who you really stick with, or who you really spend majority of your time. But again, like I mentioned, I don't train on Sundays. That's a family day for me. Whereas Rod Rutherford trains on Sundays, so he gets some of my guys. I'm not an ego guy. I know what I bring to the table. I know, if you're with me, you're always going to be a guy of mine. That's how I treat you. I don't care who you train with. I can't train Sundays, Mondays, and Fridays. There's other trainers that do those days. Cool, go with them. I want you to get as much work as you can, because again, you're just becoming a better form of yourself, So, but again, go back to the research. Are they helping you, or are they just taking money from your pocket because they know that quarterback is a position that parents are willing to pay? And so the parents have to do the research on who they're sending their kids to. But at the end of the day, I don't care. There's a lot of quarterback trainers that get pissed off and they see them working with other guys. I don't care. Go to Christensen down south. I don't do that. Why? Because again, I know what I bring to the table. I know you're going to come back to see me. And if you don't, cool, that's fine with me. If I'm not made for everybody, trust me, my coaching style is not made for everybody. But I only want the best around me. That's how I look at it. So if that's not you, if you want the good job, like coach, that's not me.
You sound like a young Jeff Christensen to me. I don't know if you know him at all, but I'm good friends with Jeff for many, many years.
No, I don't know him personally, but I know of him, and especially in this space.
He's like but that's
how I believe. Like I'm not the good job coach. A lot of parents, honestly, a lot of parents pay for the coach to say great throw. Right. I don't do that.
I think that's what a
No,
lot
I don't do that.
parents look
I've made
for. It's almost like the participation trophy type thing, right? Like they're looking for that validation of somebody who's not their coach,
There you go.
somebody who's whatever. But I also feel like
Yes.
that's part of the
Yep.
problem with it, is because a lot of trainers, like they want to do that because they want you to re-up and book for another 10 sessions, right? Where they would rather
I don't think
Think
they're
about
paying
this.
attention.
Your
They're
own-
not paying attention either. Like, I think a lot of guys, either they don't know what they're looking at, really, you know what I'm saying? Like, don't really know what they're looking at, or they're really not paying close enough attention. They're just focused on the next drill they're going to do, the next situation they're going to put in, and they're thinking that's what's going to get you better in their mind, not the actual paying attention to everything that's going on. I think that's a big difference.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Coach.
No, and here's another thing. Here's one that'll blow your minds. The first thing that I look for when I go to a camp or I'm working at camp or I'm training is what type of football are they using? A lot of these coaches allow kids, even when they're younger, to use composite footballs. There is no game other than the arena game that you're even allowed to use a composite
Thank
football.
you for saying
the
that.
fact that you're able to allow
Parents
your
don't even
kid
know
to
that.
bring a Walmart composite football that looks like a GST, but has the feeling of a football that you would play in the pool, that's what really upsets me, because
Or the
now
damn
you're not
flag
investing in
balls.
quality
Or the damn
stuff.
flag balls.
Yeah, flag-
We've
Right,
actually,
right.
we've actually
Right.
had to make it.
So,
we've had to instill
I have
and
seen
implement
kids-
it in the rules that you have to use these certain footballs for games and whatnot, because we've had it's incredible.
Guys
what
will
you
throw
see.
a flag ball before we really
It's-
picked up on it. They'll throw a flag ball,
Guys.
win a championship. The kid can't throw a regular ball, you know?
No joke, guys. I've seen kids throw composite balls literally with the craziest arm motions, and it comes out perfect every time. And they think that's what it looks like. Then they put a leather football in their hand. They're like, they don't even know how to grip the ball. Like, it's a completely different feel. And so right off the bat, like, no joke, guys. No joke. There's a kid that I trained. This is one of the best stories that I have of this. So I was working in an FPU All-American camp in Orlando back in 2016. Kid by the name of Darion Coleman, who's now at the University of Miami, a kid that I've trained the longest in my training business. I've been with him since he was 10 years old. And now he's at the University of Miami. He's a 4-star, played at Jones High School, whatever. The first interaction I had with him at 10 years old, he brought a composite football to a camp. And so, mind you, I've never met the kid. His dad never knew who I was. He was first in line. There's about 20 quarterbacks trying out for this All-American thing. He throws a perfect ball right at me. You know what I did as soon as I caught it? Because I realized, obviously, when I caught it, it was a composite ball. I threw it 50 yards in the opposite direction. I told the kid to go get it. Now, mind you, he didn't know why I did it. He threw a perfect pass, no joke, and I launched it. He ran, got it, literally skipped everybody, did the exact same drill, and threw it even harder at me, and even threw an even better ball. And in that moment, I knew I got him. But again, he didn't understand the reason why. So after the camp was over, his dad walked up to me and was like, dude, I've never seen a coach check my son like that. What was the reason? Because from my vantage point, it looked good. I said, look, you're teaching this kid that throwing a composite football is okay. It's not okay. He goes, man, I like you. He's like, you're treating my son a little different, kind of like how I would treat my son, except a lot of these coaches are afraid to say something to my kid because they think he's just good. I was like, no, that's not who I am. So then from that point on, we became clicked at the hip. And so that's like one of my biggest pride moments because, again, obviously, Darion Coleman is arguably the best arm talent that I've ever trained. If you don't know who he is, go check him out. Played at Jones High School. Again, currently, yeah, kid's absolutely phenomenal. And so kind of like a Cam Ward, but he's his own separate entity, right? So I don't like to compare kids because I believe every kid is their own identity. But if you had to kind of mimic his game, he's kind of like a Cam Ward, very, calm in the pocket, completely confident player, can make any throw. But that was one of my coolest experience with a composite ball. With that place. But again, that's like the first thing I look for is do these quarterbacks even know what to throw in a camp? And so that's number one. But again, at the end of the day, when it comes to this training stuff, I know what I bring to the table. There's other coaches that do good jobs. I'm not going to sit there and say, you can't train with this guy, you can't train with that guy, because they're my competitors, right? I honestly, the way that quarterback trainers should look at themselves is nobody's your competitor. You're your own entity. You're your own person. If you want these kids to come back, you have to prove to them and the parents on why these kids should come back. And at the end of the day, it's all about results. Do you have results? Are your kids playing at a high level? And are they doing it consistent to where now they're having fun playing the game instead of overthinking because you're coaching too much, or you don't even know what you're telling your kids to work on or do because you don't even know the position yourself. You're just doing it because you know you're going to get $100 an hour. So that's where I'm at with that when it comes to that whole training, a question. But yeah, I want all my guys to obviously add to the toolbox because we all bring something different to the table, but make sure it's the right information.
What should make them run from the trainer?
When they're not getting results. I mean, when you're, well, I'll tell you this. I mean, I keep it fundamental work and I build on it. So when your coach is telling you it's okay to do a 3-step drop and a hitch under center, literally run as far as you can from that person because that is the worst advice you can ever get. I'm serious.
Horrendous. Yeah.
So no, it's the worst. And so basically, a lot of the kids that I train, they can check these trainers. Hey, what do they know, right? Because they're learning it from me at a young age. So as long as they keep building on that, they can go to these trainers and say, hey, what are your thoughts on this? Kind of in an indirect way of asking questions to figure out if this coach knows what he's talking about or he's not. If you don't even know progression reads, if you don't know that the difference between a 3 technique, 1 technique, the outside backer, corner alignments, if you can't even teach the basics of what you're supposed to read as a quarterback, there's no way you can teach the position on timing, footwork development, and throwing. So you can literally kill a trainer based off some similar questions or simple questions that can really either deteriorate their credibility or really show, hey, this guy knows what he's talking about.
That makes a ton of sense. What about with coaches obviously in high school have in college too, all different ways of calling things, right? Terminology wise, what are things that you try to focus on core wise with them so it applies to matter, because guys run many different types of systems, right? What are some of the important things that you want to make sure that they understand? So no matter what system they go in, no matter what call system it is, they're going to be okay.
Just understand concepts are the same. Whether you are, you're a young youth or you're in college or the NFL, all the concepts are really the same. It's just different terminology. So understanding your footwork and the development on progression reads and what you're seeing based off the routes, it doesn't matter what they can call it. It's going to be the exact same. Curl flat's going to be the same as gator or hurricane or whatever you call that in the next level. It's going to be the exact same concept. So understanding who you're reading on those things, I think that's very important. But going back to what you guys mentioned earlier in my first session was, hey, getting together with these high school coaches and learning off each other. It's literally the exact same thing with colleges, right? So these colleges are reaching out to me saying, hey, this is what we're teaching our kids, or even like guys like Noah, Darion, guys that have already been to college for the last, 3-4 months, when they come back for spring break. Hey, we're going to learn this and try to dummy it down so that you understand it. But we're all learning the same thing because these coaches are trusting me and telling me, hey, this is what needs to work on. This is the terminology. This is how we call it. So that way it's the same. Nothing changes. The fundamentals of the quarterback doesn't change. The position does not change. It's just the terminology changes. So understanding that and knowing, hey, it's still the same thing. They just call it something different and really programming your mind. Okay, I just have to learn the terminology, which is like the first thing that they do when they get there. Then everything else becomes easy. So just not trying to overcomplicate the position and the terminology. And again, the thing that I tell all the kids at my camps and my trainings is, guys, football is easy. 7-year-olds and 6-year-olds are now playing this game. The game doesn't change, just you do, right? So we complicate this game thinking it's so much harder than what it is, but it's not. It's the exact same thing in the exact same sport that you have literally been learned or taught at 5, 6, 7 years old when you put on pads for the first time. Nothing changes but you. So make sure you stay on top of your training, stay on top of your development, but understand it's still a child's game. We complicate it. It's still a child's game, whether you go to college, whether you go to the NFL, you go to any type of level, Europe, UFL, Canada, doesn't matter. Football is football. Yeah, the rules may change. Yeah, the field difference may change, but football is still football and children play it. So let's not complicate the game. We just need to focus on our craft. That way we can enjoy the game and not think about it while we're playing.
Phenomenal stuff. You have more time or are you
yeah, I'm good. Oh yeah, I'm rolling now, man.
So okay, you're good.
You got more time.
Okay. Yeah. So I want to dive into when you see progression from like youth quarterbacks to middle school to high school, right? And then obviously to college. But what are the things that they have to do to take the next step as they go into each level? Like, what are the important things as they go through those different levels that they've got to be able to do well in order to succeed at each level as they're moving up?
I think taking care of the body is number one. I think that a lot of these quarterbacks don't take care of their bodies enough, and I'm talking about like strength conditioning and even speed work. I think that's, as they get older, we kind of push that on them now. So now you're learning how to use your body to generate power, but now we're going to work those muscles to generate even more power. So even the little things in the weight room, as far as band work, as far as, just stretching on, different type of muscle groups in your shoulders and your chest, right? Or even doing more squat work, deadlifts, power clean, stuff like that, where you're not able to do that when you're younger, right? We don't want to stunt growth. We don't want to really hurt the body that way, maybe doing bad form. But now as you go into your middle school, then eventually high school, is really working on the little muscles within the body and taking care of that so that you're able to perform at higher levels. I think that's very important, especially now speed development. A lot of my elite guys, I sent them to a guy named Tony Ponton here. He works with a bunch of NFL athletes, getting them ready for combine training and stuff. So these kids are learning it now at 9th, 10th, 11th grade to understand what that process looks like. That way it's not unfamiliar when that actually matters when they're 22, 23, 24 years old, hopefully given that opportunity. And so learning that now and building that regimen into your body and trying to focus more on that and outside of the training that you already kind of mastered, right? If you've been starting with me since you were 6, 7 years old, by the time you're in high school, when you're 15, 16, 17, that's 10 years of development. You understand that. So now it's just becoming more fine tuning than anything. Now you're trying to build your body to a different level, where that's the weight room stuff, the explosive movements, the fast twitch, right? The stuff like that's outside of the field, but more now in the weight room and at what you're doing at home. That's now the next level of elite training, because again, you're going to still get the fundamental work. You're still going to get the off-platform stuff. You're still going to get the stuff that you're already comfortable with on the field with my training. Now we're going to take you to another level and put you in the weight room and really work on your fast twitch fibers, your explosive movements, your hang cleans, your plyo box jumps, your band work, stuff like that. That's going to help the muscles around you to be even more explosive when you're playing the position. And then on top of that, you always got to be mentally sharp, going through your coverage, your pre-snap reads, your progression reads, your learning defensive fronts, the advantages. You can never get enough film work. I think that's the most underlining thing that quarterbacks don't focus on, that they probably need the most of, right? They need to be in the film room the most. They need to be watching stuff. They need to be in their film, in their playbooks, and understanding and being more comfortable in that. Even as far as watching like you guys mentioned earlier, watching your favorite players, what do they do well? What are they doing on film that makes them elite? Why is Patrick Mahomes so good? Why is Tom Brady so good? Why is Drew Brees so good? Why are some of these guys that are different levels as far as like height, weight, athletic abilities, why are they excelling at high levels? Just watch what they do. And I guarantee it's going to be the same thing. They understand defenses. They know where they're going to throw with the football, and they're quarterbacks first. They play within the pocket and they play within themselves, and learning that and understanding that and starting to develop that into how you play the game and focusing on how that can benefit you in the long run. I think that's the next step as they get, again, progressively older and more mature in their bodies and able to now take it to that next level in the weight room. Because again, I don't really promote that when they're, youth, elementary, even some middle school, their body's still growing, making sure they get their 10 hours of sleep or try to do 8 to 10 hours of sleep. Stuff like that. Just the little things that I'm reminding. But again, I think the weight room piece, the explosive movement pieces are more developed right when you get into high school, right before you get to high school, and then always staying in the film room. You could do that as young as when you start in 7th, 8th. There's youth programs that film their stuff on Huddle now. I mean, it's crazy. But just watching how you play the position over and over and over again, and how you can really work on some of the little details in your position, that's going to help you get better. And I think that's where you take your stuff to the next level.
That's a great point. I think that those things really enable them to progress all the way through. Is there you talked a little bit about like from a strength level, the areas and speed and all that kind of stuff, and we talked a little bit about how the quarterbacks are especially what I see now that are successful in the NFL, pro style quarterbacks that could take off if they need to, not the other way around. Correct. Because what happened, like, even the greatest freak of all time at quarterback, maybe Lamar Jackson, ends up getting a ceiling because he's relied on his running for so long, and he ends up getting a ceiling. And once he hits that ceiling, The problem is there's nowhere for him to go. You know, I mean,
Yep.
it's very hard to go the other way, right? Lamar, and he's as good of an athlete as you maybe ever going to get there. You know, you're not going to get many athletes like him, right? So it's very hard to go the other way. And the NFL, I think, is now starting to realize that. Like, I think they're starting to realize that the quarterback, yes, you want him to be able to take off and run if need be. But you need, first of all, just that Derek talked about it earlier, health and safety, right? Like that's a big part. If these guys are available and healthy and they're good, that's going to be a big part of having you have a chance to win, right? So talk about things that they can do. And I'm not even talking about like the big lifts or anything like that. Because I get, there's going to be different things with strength speed they're going to do from that standpoint. But little things that they can do to, arm health, leg health, what are some things that they can do to be able to develop that you think is advantageous to quarterbacks?
Yeah, going back to that point, how many Lamar Jacksons are in the league right now? One. How many Patrick Mahomes are in the league? One. So at the end of the day, I think what's crazy about the game of football is how drastically different they are at every level. So I think high school, you have a mixture of both. Your best athletes at quarterback, he's more of a Lamar Jackson's. You see a lot more of those around the country, a lot more dual threat categorized kids. Then you also have your pro style, your 6'4" guys that are robotic, that are staying in the pocket, right? You're always going to have the mixture of both in high school. Then you get to college. Now you see how the game's really evolved to more of an air raid RPO system where you're starting to see your 6'1" dual threat guys be at the top of their games or their the big stages, right? They're Heisman winners. Yeah, you have your Fernando Mendozas, which is, rare, but you see more of your Bryce Youngs, your Tua Tagovailoas, the guys that can extend plays that are shorter on the spectrum, your Diego Pavias, right? Cam Wards, right? The guys that can extend plays and do that. I think the college game is so spoiled to where we're starting to see a lot of the off-platform crazy movements, to Deontay Moore's, like, just go play in Sandlot football, Johnny Manziel and Baker, do what you do best and go win us football games. Then it becomes the NFL. At the end of the day, if we look at the NFL, they're always going to perfect the details of the position and the fundamentals and who excels in that the most, and that's who's going to win Super Bowls. We had Drake May in the Super Bowl this year, second year out of college, right? He's a pro style guy. He's not the most athletic guy, but he's a pocket passer. Look who just won the Super Bowl, Sam Darnold, pocket passer. Look at the last decade. I would challenge anybody to look at the last decade or 2 decades and tell me, has a dual threat quarterback won it or a pocket passer that's fundamentally sound have won it? And you're probably going to go towards the fundamentally sound pocket pass quarterback. Why? Because that's the game at the professional level. The game is way too fast for people like Johnny Manziel to be running around, creating plays, and doing stuff like that. Lamar Jackson's, right, to where you get to a point where you hit the ceiling, and that's it. It's done. You can do it in college, but when you get to the NFL, everybody's bigger, faster, stronger, and can actually adapt to who you are. There's more film studies. They play you multiple times a year, so they can prepare for you better. Whereas college, you get one game, and you're like, man, if we win this game, we're set, right? We saw the Miami Hurricanes literally go through the playoffs and make it to the national championship. They weren't even supposed to make the dang tournament, yet all they had to do was win one game at a time. They find themselves. Whereas Lamar Jackson has to see the same division 2 or 3 times a year, and it's hard to prepare for that. So again, those guys are 1 in a million. But I've also challenged a guy. I love Lamar Jackson. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL productive-wise. But I actually have a bet right now, an outstanding bet when he got drafted in the Super Bowl, $1,000 that he would never win a Super Bowl. And it's still going to – and I think it's never going to happen. I really don't, because of just the style of play that he presents himself, that he just plays with. You have to know the fundamentals of the game within the pocket. Then you extend it. That's why I told you guys in my first session, I categorize all the guys I train as what? Athletic pocket passers. Even Darion Coleman was considered a dual threat. He will tell you, if he was on this interview right now, I want to play within the pocket. I'm not a dual threat. I'm a quarterback that can pass, that has the ability to run if I need to. That's where the game is. I think the perfect quarterback, and I hope he wins the Super Bowl. I don't think it. I'm a Dolphins fan, but I think the perfect example of what that looks like is Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen has all the tools, that he's a pocket passer that is athletically gifted to kill you with his feet, but he's going to be smart to doing it. I think Drake May has done a really good job of showing that as well, right? I think he was a leading rusher.
I think Josh Allen's had to learn that too, right? Like, I think Josh Allen's learned that, because that was kind of the knock on him going through as he, to where he's got now. I think you're seeing it being played out firsthand, especially for us, here in New Jersey with Jackson Dart, right? Everybody's really excited about what this guy brings, what he does, but what what's the first things that guys like Gruden talk about are like, hey, he's got to learn when to get down. He's got to know how to protect himself. That reckless, right? That type of reckless abandonment quarterback play, it's amazing, right? And it's exciting, and people wow and they love it until they don't when he gets hurt and he's knocked out of every game. And the consistency with it, right? It just doesn't play out like that, and that's really hard when that's how he's kind of made his money and why he is at the level that he's at now for doing like being who he is. But ultimately, if he wants to sustain his success and take it to that next level and become that championship player, he's got to change who he is at the NFL level. There's no doubt.
And there's a difference between winning games and winning championships. There's a difference between winning games and winning championships. Like there are teams, and you brought up this point, and you can talk more about it. I don't want to interrupt you here, but because I know we have limited time. But the quarterbacks that are able, play someone 2 or 3 times in a season, NFL defenses are going to adjust. They're going to see what you do the first time. Maybe it takes them 2 times, but by the third time, they're going to know what they can do to stop you because they're going to have other film from not just what they do, but other teams that have played you. As soon as they see someone, so I always use Cam Newton as my example on that. As soon as I think it was the Broncos, as soon as the Broncos beat them, they saw it. Every team saw that film in the Super Bowl. What you have to do to stop Cam Newton. Everybody did it. Within 2 years, he was out of the league, literally. Or a few years, he was out of the league because what happened was they knew that he was a one-trick pony as far as his passing game goes. So, and that really changed. And he tried to adapt after that, but it was too hard. He was so gifted physically I mean, when he won the national championship at Auburn, like 6'5", 250 pounds, running the ball, throw the ball a country mile, he could get away with it. And, it really takes a quarterback coach that has guts to grab Newton, to grab him when he's 15, you know what I'm saying? And say, listen, dude, you're going to be able to do whatever you want, probably for a very long time. But if you want to make the ultimate most money, you got to learn this stuff now because you may get away with it, in his case, all the way to get to the NFL championship, but he couldn't. Then they figured it out. And that was really the beginning of the end, right? And I think that's a really important thing. I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, and I guarantee people watching this podcast, okay, I can show you. Patrick Mahomes dual threat. No, he's not. He's a pocket athletic passer. Oh, well, okay, what about Jalen Hurts? Nope, he's a pocket passer that's athletic. I'm telling you, look at the last decade or 2 decades. There has not been a single dual threat quarterback to win a Super Bowl. It's not going to happen. So the game has to play within the pocket. They have to understand that you have to be a pure passer to win at the highest level. Now, get in college, yes, you can get away with it, right? Because the game is completely air raid RPO now. Okay, so it's a lot different. But back to your first original question again, the weight room stuff, the things that you need to really focus on. That's going to help, obviously, with the little things that you can work on. I think plyo jump boxes are literally the most effective way to work on twitch and explosive movements from your lower body. Getting that fast twitch, really exploding on the plyo jumps. I have all my guys do that, as well as wall slams. You get a medicine ball, throw it as hard as you can, working on your back hip, throwing as fast as you can to the wall. That's very good for explosive twerk movements. Again, everything has to do with the lower body. Squats and hang cleans, deadlifts, anything with explosive movements with your lower body. Eliminate bench press, eliminate incline bench, eliminate all that. You can do more shoulder stuff, out, front, stuff like that. Band work, really work the really fine tune the smaller muscles, but you don't want to overdo it, especially with your lower body. You want to be stiff up top, but you want to be so big and explosive with your lower body that's going to help generate the power and the twerk when you're throwing a football. Other than that, that's really what I'd focus on. Obviously, conditioning, running, doing stuff like that to build, stamina and being in shape. But again, that's still going to be working your calves and your hamstrings and your thighs when you're running on the track. So you're still working the lower body. So attack it as much as you can, and it's more like just more maintenance on the upper body with the band work and stuff like that. Not really going so strong up top. I can guarantee you Tom Brady can barely bench probably 225 when he was coming out, but he's arguably the best quarterback to ever live, but I guarantee he was strong lower body. Throw him on a squat rack, I'm guarantee you he was going to be explosive. So I think that's really the little things that these quarterbacks can really focus on as they develop and get a little bit bigger.
How about a sport that you think complements the quarterback position that they can play? Like,
I was going to ask about that
as a second sport, or especially when they're young, right? Going through high school, like what complements the quarterback position that you think?
Crazy part, I can't play this sport, but I think the best sport from a mental standpoint, from a torque standpoint, from a clean lower body mechanical standpoint is golf. I think golf can really translate to football, and especially quarterback. Baseball is the worst sport that will translate. It's literally the people, oh, he's a good pitcher. That is the worst thing you can do for a quarterback. It's completely different stride motions. It's completely different form motions. You're not throwing from different arm angles with different arm slots because you're trying to throw different type of pitches. It's literally the worst. And you can tear ligaments in your elbow that can cause Tommy John, which, again, it's the number one injury in sports when it comes to elbow and rotational stuff. But the only thing, I'll tell you this, though, and this is the key. Parents, if you're listening, especially you, Pops, that you have a quarterback as a son, which my son will be doing. The only thing that you could take from baseball, that you can correlate that to quarterback play, is batting. Go to the batting cages as much as you want. It's a short stride, explosive move in your hip, and it's all level swing. Your head doesn't move. It goes from side to side. You're working on the twerk and the explosive movements through hitting a baseball. That is the number one thing you can do. I send all my elite kids, Noah Grubbs, Darion, Brady Hart, all the top guys, even John Rice Plumlee, I was training him. He was playing baseball, right? Go to the batting cages 2 to 3 times a week. It's going to change your game. I'm telling you, not because you want to play baseball, because you're learning the twerk movement. You're learning the explosive movement, the little step in front of you. That's not the big stride when you're throwing. Short, compact, head doesn't move, and go right through your hip rotational stuff. That is awesome for quarterback development. So go to the batting cages as much as you can. Other than that, stay away from pitching. And, I mean, you can play other positions. Baseball, I'm not telling you to quit baseball. Now, I made Noah do it and Brady Hart. They both quit going into high school. They focused solely on quarterback. But I'm not telling you that to scare parents or, oh, he's tough. No, I don't do that. I'm just telling you what works, right?
Right.
If you really want to be great at quarterback, you're going to have to spend like 99.9% of your time developing at this position, or there's going to be other kids that are doing that's going to excel more than your kids, right? So I would say focus more on that. But I think the sport mentally, especially golf, you have to be mentally sharp there, which quarterback play is all mental. And then obviously I would say your swing, your developmental, and how you go through your lower body. Also, there's another one, boxing. You could box as much as you want. The back hip rotation, going through your punches, spar as much as you want. Go and get a boxing trainer. One of the coolest things that I've gotten to witness, I trained Davy Belfort, whose dad is Vitor Belfort, who's an MMA legend, superstar. I've gotten to watch him do boxing workouts, and then we go straight to the field and do some of those same type of movements with their lower body mechanics and how they're working the back hip through, stuff like that. I think that's very important. So boxing is another good one for the conditioning as well, obviously working on your body, and then the twerk movements, and then golf. I think more mental than anything, but then obviously with your swing and your development with the short stride, very short and compact, just like how you should be when you're throwing a football.
Coming from a true Floridian where you could golf like 365 days a year, man. Like, shit. Listen, we could get to an indoor driving range up here, but we got to get through, 24 inches of snow for 3 months of the year to do it. But look, it's awesome. And
top golf, guys. Drive range, top golf.
No doubt. It's kind of wild that you talk, because we talk to tons of strength and conditioning guys on here and in the college realm. And a lot of those guys, we ask them kind of who they cover or who do they work out, within the school themselves. And a lot of them say golf, right? Like I have the golf team that comes in at 5 a.m. and they're working out. Just putting all of that together and hearing that from like a college strength coach that, golf teams have strength coaches, you know what I mean, as well.
Yeah.
Just putting it all together, right, really, for our viewers kind of wraps their, it's hard for them to wrap their head around like, wait, golf needs to work out in that regard too. Absolutely. Because like you said, the movements and the things that, help them in that space, right, can also aid you in the football world. And I love the comparison where you're talking about pitching, because that's the first thing everybody wants to talk about. Well, he throws this much heat at this age, and it's like really like has absolutely nothing to do with the position itself. So I love that you kind of touched on it.
No doubt. What about basketball? Do you think basketball is helpful?
Basketball's more. Yeah, I mean, any sport really. Honestly, every sport can really help any sport. Coordination skills, mental, physical conditioning, working out. I mean, you could really take something out of every sport and be a better overall athlete. That's awesome. I hope that kid, my son's going to be playing 3 or 4 sports year round. It is what it is. That's what I did. My son's going to enjoy basketball, football, baseball. I think those are the 3 sports that my kids, and then boxing, we're going to start, do boxing, not like competitively, but just to do it.
Just learning, right? Like just skill-based stuff.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
footwork,
when I have Vitor Belfort,
that kind of-
right in my back corner, my boy's going to go for a whole summer and go get trained by that guy, and then hopefully comes back a different athlete. But basketball's just more cardio, and then obviously coordination skills, eye coordination, able to feel the ball right while you're dribbling, stuff like that, man. Again, you could use that in pretty much any sport, but I think basketball's just more for conditioning, just like soccer would be, lacrosse, right? You just up and down the court all the time, always moving, staying, obviously in shape. I think that's a big thing too. So again, you can really take something from every sport, really, to be a better overall athlete.
Awesome stuff, man. I can't thank you enough for coming on. Really, really just fantastic stuff, fantastic insight. I love how forward you are. I think that's really important, especially the parents you're going to deal with, obviously, too, right? So, I mean, quarterback parents and golf parents, probably the same. So, like they have expectations.
And again, I think his area too, right? Like there's I'm sorry, geographics play a role in this, right? Like there's a reason that Florida is always listed as a top football state, a top athlete state in general. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That's why it is. and to be in one of those hub areas like where you are, and look, we're really close, we're really close with the head coach at American Heritage down in Plantation, who's played Jones in the finals, right? Like, I mean, this is, he talks about it all the time.
Yeah, 2 years in a row. There's a cool video of him giving it's a cool video of him giving Darian a hug. I was like, dude, I'm just glad I don't have to play you anymore. Like,
Mike, listen, and Mike's a Jersey guy to begin with, right? So like when he went down, he was my first trainer. When he went down there, like that was like, he constantly references that in terms of the athlete that he always gets. And sometimes a double-edged sword because they are so athletic. You look at Malachi Toney, who literally is probably one of the best receivers in all of college football this year, yet his senior, like his, the last high school year that he played, he quarterbacked that team for the 5 games in the championship, right? And just that.
Unfortunately, he beat Darian. Yeah, he beat
100%.
Darian head to head. Yeah.
Yeah, but look, now they're teammates, right? So it works for them. But also, like, it could be, you know what I mean? Like, rather than get those quarterback, mechanics and specifics to the position, you're just relying on that athleticism. And sometimes now that's a huge adjustment, and it's why for so long and still people take that athlete and they want to make them a different position. Go play something else. Go, you know what I mean? Rather than let's hone in on what you really could be. So I always look at it like sometimes, how many athletes, right, that were kind of forced into going to play another position could have been really high level quarterbacks had they just kind of stuck with it, or had a coach that said, you know what, no, you're a quarterback, go do it. Right. So I think some of that adds to it as well. Look, man, it's been absolutely awesome. I really appreciate you taking the time. I'm glad we were able to connect and touch base and whatnot. Look, we always allow guys to kind of plug their business and what they have. So just kind of let our viewers know that if they want to reach out to you or whatnot, where can they find you?
Yeah, and again, I want to thank both of you guys for your time, getting to, listen to me. I mean, I'm sure everybody has an opinion about something, but, I value my knowledge and from what I've learned, but a lot of people, may think differently. I mean, that's cool. And we all have our own way of thinking things. So I just appreciate you guys even valuing what I have to say and taking the time to understand me and get to know me a little bit and what I'm doing here. And I know that this all really stemmed from that top 25 list that was just put out, which I didn't even know I was on. I was tagged by a coach at Coco.
Really random.
I was like, what is this? And then, of course, I was like, I'm really humbled. And the fact that people that I don't even know are acknowledging what I'm doing down here is pretty cool. So that was a pretty cool thing. But everybody on that list is awesome. I've met a lot of those people, especially those quarterback trainers on that list. I've also coached in some camps with some of those guys. But there's so many great trainers that weren't even mentioned. So just to be humbled to be even in that position was really cool. But different ways to find me. I have it under my name now. I'm very big on Twitter. I think I spend most of my time on Twitter. Just my first and last name. I also have a website, which is my first and last name.com, which shows my training schedule, my camp schedule throughout the year. You just log on that. You'll see where I'm at, times, days, locations, and where I'll be. So if anybody ever wants to know where I'm going to be at weekly, they just go on there and just show up. Also, Instagram, I have 2 accounts. My main account is my first and last name, and my quarterback training account is Be True QB Training, which is my business, as well as Be True's Advanced QB Camp. Again, you can find both those on Instagram, so I have 3 pages technically. But yeah, those are pretty much where I can find me. I'm not hard to find. You know, you go on social media, type probably my name, which probably nobody has, and you could probably see some of the stuff that I have out there. So, yeah. So again, appreciate you having me on this platform. You guys can reach out to me anytime. I love to be back on this thing, man. Love what you guys are doing, and appreciate again your time and valuing what I have to say.
Thanks so much, Coach. It's really great having you on, and enjoy your phys ed day, Coach.
There you go. And if you guys are ever free on Monday nights, you ever want to join a Bible study, or your son wants to join the Bible study, just let me know. We do it from 7:30 to 8:30 Eastern Standard Time every Monday night with me and Evan North. Again, we've had 30 to 40 quarterbacks every Monday from all across the country. Learn a little bit about Jesus. That's what it's really all about. So,
absolutely. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Thanks,
Have a great day,
Appreciate
Coach.
you, man.
all right, guys.
All right. Bye.
Take care. God bless.
God bless. All right.
First ever. Hey, hold on. Give me 5 minutes. Let me get my class where they need to go, and I'll be right back. Like, that's awesome.
I think he's the first guy to come back, actually.
That's what I mean, though. I think that's phenomenal. That's awesome, dude. Like, and I love that, you know, he's coaching phys ed and he's wearing a backwards hat. Like, shit. Like,
yeah,
you rolled into phys ed class and your teacher's in there like, hey, let's rock. Like, that's awesome.
Gotta love
Florida.
Gotta love Florida. Gotta love Florida. Dude, for Florida, you can't just make it alone as a teacher. You have to get a game.
I love the part, right? Because I don't think people really understand how the world in Florida works when it comes to like transfers, how it's literally like you can transfer anywhere, anytime and just go, you know what I mean? Like just leave and go. So when he talks about like, hey, I'm the guy behind most of these guys transferring, like he's not bullshitting. He literally, I guarantee you guys are like, hey, come work out on my campus, or hey, bring so-and-so here. I know you have him, right? And that might piss off some coaches, but at the same time, I love that he owns it. And he's like, yeah, I want my guys to be in the best situation possible for them. You know what I mean? Like the fact that he's had to kind of dial down his work with Elite 11 because so many of his guys are there. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like when there's, you know, however many guys there and half of them you've either worked with or whatever, it's an issue that we see a lot of these guys up even by us, right? Because they coach for one team, yet they work with so many other guys. Now they're like playing each other. You know what I mean? Like they're playing a guy that they've coached or whatever. You know, it's a really hard world to kind of balance. You know, you kind of almost have to choose like which way it is, but I like that he will, you know, travel from team to team throughout the week and work with those guys. It's a bonus for coaches to have a full-blown QB coach come in, understand the bigger picture of the teams and the system, yet really hone in on the quarterback. And that kid now gets that familiarity with a coach, you know, not hearing two different things coming from a trainer to his, you know, school coach every week. You know what I mean? If he gets that familiarity. So that's definitely a different approach to it. And I think it's awesome that coaches are going to allow that. I think it's really cool.
I agree. I that's totally different from up here.
Nobody would that would not.
A parochial
would do it. Absolutely. A parochial would do it. And you see it a lot with wrestling, right? Like, because those guys have their own coaches in that world. And then those guys will go to the team meets or whatever, and then sit on the bench and work with those guys in wrestling. It's a little different with that. Right. But for football, like there's just too many egos in the public school world, or there's too much red tape to kind of hop through and make, you know, and allow guys to kind of do that. Up here, I don't think it would be a thing. Like you said, I think maybe at the private school level, like guys would entertain that and kind of do it because they understand how much those kids put in the time with their trainers, but definitely a rarity.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think that
definitely there's no doubt
the smart ones, well, the parochials, you know, probably have something like that already, but in public school, if you were smart, you would have some sort of relationship with people that you deem would be important for your program. You know what I mean? For example, like in your town, right? Like this guy trains a lot of people in your town. This guy does this in your town or your area. You might want to know who he is because chances are some of the kids are going there, right? So
No doubt.
I think that's an important thing. It was like, it was, no doubt. Like, I mean, it was one of the reasons I brought EJ Barthel in to start training our kids when I was at Powell Park. I was like, a lot of these kids, some of these kids are starting to go there. Okay, cool. Or have a relationship like with Mehdi. Mehdi was training my quarterback. I had a relationship with Mehdi. So I think those things are important because
absolutely,
if you in the old world, you could battle them and win. And win, you can't win. You're not going to.
No.
It becomes something that you need to figure out what can help your program, and can help stabilize your program. And it always comes, you need athletes in order to have success. So, it's important to do that, and it's important to build relationships with the ones that you have similar values with. That's also important thing because it works both ways. You could send guys to those guys. You know what I'm saying?
And be comfortable knowing that they're getting coached right or they're doing the right thing, and that guy has their best interest in mind. I think that all it should be incorporated, right, and understood. I think that's it's big like that.
No doubt about it. Really, really good stuff. What was I going to say? What do we have? We have one tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow we have PJ Gibbs will be back on. He just
PJ, okay.
Yeah, he's doing a podcast himself now. He's had a couple really good guests. He just talked to the head coach Dave Dorn from NC State. I know he has a relationship with him. It'll be good to talk to him again. And yeah, we have guys all week. So we're 10 a.m. tomorrow with PJ.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then Wednesday 10 a.m. Chris Johnson's Thursday 10 a.m. Nick Ziccino 10 a.m. nutrition stuff. Yeah, we got a packed week, so I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome, cool. And do you want, I'll call you offline about this because I was just trying to figure out if you want me to send you updated, like the stuff that it generates with the YouTube link. If you wanted that as as I add you as a spreadsheet. So you have that. I don't know. You don't have to integrate it with what you're doing, but you'll have the links on there. So you'll have the links to every one of their
right, because it's going right to the website.
You might just want it for your own reference. A guy wants to see something, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, definitely. Or I could just fire away and be like, hey, based off of what field they're kind of in, right? I could shoot out and be like, oh, if we're going straight to this, hey, here's our episode with Tony Holler, here's Brian Kula, here's Chris Corfus, you know what I mean? Like name drop a little bit sometimes for some of them that might have to be swayed or whatnot, but not many people really need to be swayed. It's more of like, hey, I mean, literally talked to him on Friday, said, hey, we have an opening on Monday, you know what I mean? Like, want to hop on? Oh yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? Like, so guys want to get, like I said, if there's one trend, guys want to get on and guys want to talk, whether it's us or just in general, like guys just want to get on and talk some ball and some shop, which is awesome.
Oh yeah. That has definitely been a really, really positive trend that has happened. And I think it's good because it helps get that information out there. And we're reaching a lot of people. I'm going to give my plug for today because the site is coming together great, and you can see both me and Coach D as very handsome caricatures of ourselves on there, right, as a main page. You'll know it right away if you come on there. Prospect-Podcast.com. I can't believe I got that URL. I don't even know how that happened.
It's insane.
I couldn't believe it. I would have thought somebody would have had something like that. You know what I mean? Grabbed.
Yeah, no doubt.
But you go there. We literally, and we're updating it like. I would say I'm updating it every day, but I'm trying to update it at least a couple times a week with everything updated. But you could literally, if you want to be a guest, you can go on there. If you're interested in sponsoring, you can go on there. It has all the information on there. Like as far as podcast websites go, I'm not tooting my own horn, but it's probably as good as any podcast website. And soon, we're adding pictures to all the guests. We're adding all the links to every guest, so you could literally go click on a guy's name, search their guy's name on the website, find the person. You can find it by category, and then you can go and see literally their episodes. So if the guys' episodes aren't on there, as we go through and, find out which ones aren't up on there, we'll find the link, we'll put it up there. But we're going to have everybody's stuff up there so they can literally click right through it. And you can watch it, not just go to the YouTube site, because some people like to watch it. I put up the radio, or whatever you want to call it, Spotify.
Just
version.
the audio?
Yeah, the audio. So I'm a little behind, obviously, on the audios, but I'm kind of bulk adding them. Like, maybe Wednesday night I add 8 more episodes.
Right.
I'll probably never catch up exactly, but there's a ton of episodes up there, probably hundreds of episodes up there. Not the full amount. Trying to get those up there as well. So if you go to prospectpodcast.com, like, this is
it's awesome.
This is I've watched a lot of videos, and there's some really great podcasts out there. As far as the breadth of information we're getting, the breadth of guests, it's as good as there is. I'll put it like that. I'm not somebody to go say we're number one, but it's pretty darn good.
You're just getting a good variety. You know what I mean? Like, and
variety.
Again, it's information that kind of stems. Look, you could look at some of our first episodes still resonate and hit home on topics and things that are still very much relevant and in the limelight for what we're kind of talking about it. And then we just it kind of evolves and takes on its own. It's why sometimes circling back and having somebody back to talk about, either how things are going or where they've taken it or what they've used and kind of moved forward with it or tweaked it or whatever, how things are constantly changing and evolving. Like, I think that's such a bonus to have that. You know what I'm saying?
There's no doubt. It's absolute bonus to have that. And, it's, as I was going through it and searching on it, I was like, it's so cool.
You're like, oh shit.
Yes. And now I've basically taken your brainchild on the spreadsheet and been able to basically put that up there, which is great. And so I got, again, we'd like to get some sponsors. We've had a lot of people on it. We'd like to get some sponsors on here. We could really promote you. I mean,
that'd be awesome. And I think for people too, like, it's not just like, because it's national, you know what I'm saying? Like, look, we'll take any type of, like, look, we're going to vet it, and obviously, right. And we want the right people supporting what we're kind of doing. But at the same time, like, you get a good, you know what I mean? Like, you're getting a good wide range of, multiple sports or multiple fields or whatever. So your audience for what your sponsorship entails, it's not just a one trick pony of these are parents, these are coaches, these are whatever, you know what I mean? Like, you're getting, eyes on whatever business or whatever you're trying to do. Like, there's a lot of like visibility for, coming and throwing a sponsorship to it. You know what I mean? Not to mention, like I said, I think it's really good in terms of, there's a standard, right? And look, it's why we've done it. It's why we've been able to do it for so long, right? Is because it's, we've changed and evolved and adapted and done certain things and kind of taken it certain ways. Whereas others really haven't. They've kind of stayed in that lane that they have, and that's good for them. But, right. For us, it's variety, it's, hey, we can take something from everything. And, it's not just, football's, our that's kind of what it is. But at the same time, like, there's a multitude of other sports and stuff that we talk about. You know what I mean? Shit, I look back and it's like, oh yeah, we had him on from the Savannah Bananas, or we've had, doctors, right? Or nutritionists or strength and conditioning or mental coaches, right? Male, female. We've run the gamut when it comes to guests, and we will continue to do that because I think that's, there's a lot that a lot of people can offer in this space, and it doesn't have to be sports specific.
No doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. It is. It's fun. It's come together, and we could thank AI, because if we were to have to build a website 2 years ago, it would have cost a lot of money and a lot of time.
Right. So, think about it. You've been building websites since the early 2000s. You know what I mean? And just look at that evolution of like where it's come from and what you used to have to do to kind of what you can do now, or just any of that kind of stuff, man. Like, it's just changed in such a positive way. And I think we utilize it the right way, right? Yep. To kind of benefit everybody. and allow people to kind of get out there and kind of see what else there is. You know what I'm saying? Like, how many of these trainers have we had on that some people would just click and go with it, right? But because we get them on here and have these conversations, you kind of really see what goes into what they put into it and how they approach things and whatnot. And, the strength and conditioning world and this viewpoint, that viewpoint. How do we do this? How do we treat that? With, elementary school, middle school, high school, college, you know what I mean? Like, it all kind of flows, or this coach and how they coach and what they've done and, what they have, what not to do, or just, you know what I mean? Like, there's so much knowledge that comes from each one. I mean, shit, you still see me. I still take notes on every podcast that we do. Yep. You know what I mean? Like, if I freaking scanned them and ChatGPT'd it through all of it, I mean, we could put out an entire freaking log on like, hey, this is what went down in this. And, here's what they talked about. And if you have any questions, like, shoot them out and we could reach out and whatever. I mean, it's just, there's so much to every episode that we do that, there's almost no way you're going to listen and not take something from it.
Oh yeah. It's incredible. I think we do a good job of asking questions that are relevant, that like, let them.
And I also think our guests are comfortable, right? Because we let them kind of openly speak. It's not one of those gotcha type of podcasts, right? If there is a guest that comes on and, I ask every single one of them, like, hey, is this something we're talking about? Or is this something that we're not talking about? You know what I mean? And just that question alone kind of gives a level of respect that there's, you know what I mean? It's different. And I think our guests respect that. They like the structure of it, yet also the lack of structure, right? That's not a negative. Like, that's by design.
Well, I watched some great podcasts.
We wanted more of a conversation. Like, watch Joe Rogan's podcast, right? Because to me, that's the prime example of like what a podcast should be. It's a conversation. Yeah, you're asking questions, but you're also, everybody's involved in the conversation and everybody is talking and understanding kind of how the structure is. And it's by design. It should be a conversation. It shouldn't be a interview type of whatever, you know what I mean? Like, and I think that adds a level of
thoughts.
100%. And I think that adds a level of comfort for the guests to come on. Even some of the, even guys that when, some guys start out so tight and then before you know it, it's a really loose type of atmosphere and they kind of ease into it. You know what I mean? And this is from guys from the highest levels, that you would never expect to be, just kind of shooting the shit. You know what I'm saying? And I think that resonates with a lot of people because it puts everybody on somewhat of a level playing field. I mean, for me, even like, when we're talking to Division I, head coaches of prominent universities, where literally the stadium is the background. You know what I'm saying? Like, that would take the breath away for a lot of people. Whereas they love it because we're treating them just like we treat, an NAIA coach from Kansas, There's
no doubt. There's no doubt. Everybody gets, has an opportunity to speak what they need to speak on and talk about it.
Or not.
And you can, I think we do a good job of figuring out what they want to what we want to get to and what they want to get to. Right. So,
and I also think because we allow them to kind of do that or use that, for look, to me, Coach Hines coming on again is a great example, right? Like he's here's a guy that was like, we spoke to head coach, changing things, social media, everybody, and then all of a sudden, boom, he has a situation where he's let go. Hey, coach, why don't you come on? Let's have this conversation to clear the air and talk about it. And the fact that they're comfortable. How many times within that interview did he say, oh, look, I've never said that. I haven't said this out loud or in public yet, but here's what it is. Right. To me, we're talking about a guy on the opposite side of the country that we've talked to 2 times. And now all of a sudden he's willing to kind of let things out or kind of have those conversations that I don't know if he would on other platforms, like that's really cool to me that we are given the respect, right. And kind of put in that category of, hey man, like we're here and we're here to support you. Right. And if you need anything, let us know, it's why guys itch to come back on. Like, hey, can we talk longer? We're like, hey, We're trying to already keep it to an hour, but shit.
Yeah, no doubt. And an hour flies by, and most of the episodes, an hour really flies by.
There's no doubt. And I think one of the things too is you've also seen guys now like the bios used to take a really long time because guys really wanted to like talk about themselves and pump whatever it is. And now that's like become one of these quick, like, hey, let's just hit on it and go so we can really get to the nuts and bolts of what this is. I don't know if you've noticed that recently, but like,
yeah, I did.
I think it's awesome. And look, some of these guys, you know, like you're talking Coach White, right? Who's been at 15 different schools. And it's like, all right.
You know what the greatest bio was of all, though? And it wasn't meant to be the whole episode. I think you know what I'm going to say. He went through the whole episode, gave his bio, and told it in a story fashion. It was
the best.
So I had a conversation with Nymphius about this because you wouldn't believe it, but he watches like so many of the episodes because he'll call me up if he sees something.
Oh, Coach Joffrey watches almost every episode every morning from work. And I mean, that's why, like, you know, Friday when we had what was Betchel from UConn, right? The Johns Hopkins, John. Right. Yeah. So he's like, dude, that kid was a mother here to block every day of practice, right? Because he was on the opposite side of the ball. And he watches every episode because he's like, look, I never know what the hell who you're going to have on or whatever. And I really kind of don't want to miss it. Like, so because it's, you know, it gives me more information and it's fun. It makes an hour of work go by real fast.
Oh, right. Well, to me, that's the greatest thing about a good podcast. Like,
oh yeah, you get sucked into it.
If you're doing work like at your desk, you know what I'm saying? And
right.
And you could actually learn something while you're doing work from your desk. I mean, that's huge. So
no doubt.
Well, great episode. And
I'm looking forward to tomorrow to talking to Coach Gibbs again, man, because he's really, if you look at it, he's really pumping out a lot of really good content. And growing his YouTube page, right? Like he's always had that good network within it. I think now he's formalized it. He's using that 3 safety defense to kind of get him in the door with a lot of things and whatnot. And I'm always curious as to what lane he's kind of moving in, you know, because he bobs and weaves a little bit too. And him being down in Florida, I think is just, it's, you know, it's a game changer for him because that's a whole different type of, you know, coaches down there. They might not get paid shit, but they sure as hell love the game.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Oh, man. Well, great job. Great job yesterday too, practice. And
it's always so fun.
Oh yeah. You know, especially the beginning, everybody's excited. You know what I mean?
Well, it's just fun because those kids are shot. And look, even like with the older group, like whether those older guys even, you know, come to anything, right? Because for the most part,
I like being around them.
I don't think they're going to be down in Delaware. You know what I mean? But at the same time, like, I still think it's good for guys, the younger guys, to kind of see like, oh, damn, like, look at these kids. Like all of them already have signed to go to a school. You know what I mean? Like we could get there. You know what I'm saying? Or let's do that, right? And I get that. I think that adds a really good level to kind of show the standard. And I think because we kind of approach it and say, look, this is what this is. I know a lot of people think 7-on-7 is this, but this is how we do it here, period. You know what I mean?
Yep,
like
that's why I explained it to them. I explained it to the young kids, but the young kids don't, you know, obviously don't understand it as well because they're young. But the older kids, I could see just talking to them, like it's almost like a sigh of relief too. I hate saying
even
that.
Some of those younger kids, right? Like, hey, coach, I went to this one and they told me this, and then I came here and it's not that, right? And it's like, let us clear the air. Yeah,
like I say, like you go to Instagram and you see a lot of, you know, wins and stuff, you know, high places and stuff, and you kind of you could think, oh wow, you know, that's what the main thing is, and it's not. It's that happens because we get good kids together that are good people, you know.
And I think that's the difference is like, look, we could gather the best players, the fastest 40s, the best, you know, athletes, whatever. We could do all that, but that's not how we approach it. Give us a good kid who wants to improve, wants to get better, understands what this actually is, guy that wants to come out and compete and is going to be respectful. And we'll kind of work with that. give me that every day, other than all the other nonsense, you know what I mean? Like clickbait stuff. We don't, that's not what we're here for.
At the end
right?
of the day,
And
there's no coaches going to the Hall of Fame for winning 7 championships. So,
no, but you know what? Look at our track record of how many guys we've put in college playing, and look, most of them are the
it's
best
almost
players on their
100.
college team.
I have to update that. It's almost 100.
Dude, I'm just
I
telling
wish
you,
I had
like,
a spreadsheet on that.
But the thing to me too is they're not just there; they're captains. They're all division players. They're the best player on their college teams, right? And they might have not been the 5-star, and they weren't the 5-star, scholarship guy of what it is. No, they went to a place that fit the right because we expressed that to them and helped them through that process. And now they're doing really big things on the back end. And I think that speaks for itself. You know what I mean? Like, I think those guys would speak to it as well. Said, hey, they coached it different and they really invested in who I was as a player, not the masses, and kind of went with it with that. Right. And I appreciate them doing that because maybe we were the first guys to tell them, hey, buddy, like, you're not a Division I guy. And they respect that, not that we're crushing dreams, but that we're just helping them being real with it.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. All right, man. Well, great episode.
All right, buddy. We'll talk soon.
I know I have to ask you something, but when I figure it out, and I remember,
you got it. I'll talk to you later.
I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Later.